Hello. 3 for 3, I think. What's going on, everyone? My name's Tom from Dreadlabs. If you don't know me, I'm a graphic designer and a visual artist from the Netherlands. It is Thursday, March 6th, 2025, and today we are going to do an actual graphic design live stream where we're going to be designing. Sick, right? Yeah. So I've asked around in my Discord server what it is that people wanted to see for next live stream today, actually. And as a matter of fact, I've been planning to catch up with Jack from Studio AAA, but it's gonna be a couple of weeks due our some messy schedule stuff, but no worries about that. And in the meantime, I figured let's do an actual design live stream for now. And I think next week maybe we can do some design review streams again, or a portfolio review stream. And perhaps if you come up with any cool suggestions for future live streams, we can also definitely look into that. So, what I wanted to do in today's video is go into Photoshop and show you how I usually create Metalheart artworks. So I'm gonna change my view so you can actually see my screen here. And we're in Photoshop right now, and kind of want to do something. Well, I don't want to make it a whole full promo, but I want to highlight an asset pack that I use, that I made myself in order to create these Metalheart arts. So yeah, I'm going to just demonstrate real quick how that works. I'm just going to show off the way that this Metalheart artwork live stream asset pack works. And basically, during the process, because I of course understand that if you are a beginning graphic designer and you don't want to spend money on an asset pack in order to start designing something, if you have a specific question on how I created a certain asset that I'm using, I can try and make it from scratch, so that I can teach you actually how to do it without having to pay for my asset packs, if that makes sense. Because yeah, on the contrary to what many people believe, is I don't really sell these asset packs for designers so they do something that they don't know how to do. Actually, the main reason that I sell these asset packs is to save you guys time. So that's why I also have a YouTube channel. I want to learn and teach you guys how to make a certain style or how to do something, and the assets are basically just there to make it easier and quicker for you. So let's start out with a background. So the assets, the pack that I'm going to use, well, my speaking is really bad today. Anyways, what I'm going to use today is the Dreadlabs Metalheart Essentials. If you want to grab it for yourself, I've just Googled it. It's available on my website here, as you can see. It's 15 bucks. And it contains like all kinds of different things like listed in here, but in today's stream I'm just gonna highlight it, and I'll show you how this process usually goes for me. And again, if you have any specific questions, if you're like, oh wait, I want to know how to make a certain background that you're just dragging and dropping from this asset pack, and I'm going to show you real quick how I made those from scratch, because all of this, everything in this asset pack is basically just made from scratch. So let's start out with the backgrounds. As you can see, these are some abstract, weird looking backgrounds. I'm just going to pick a random one, maybe number 14 here. And all of these are made at 3000 by 3000 pixels at 300 dpi. So you can also use them for most print works as well. Yeah, the reason why it's dropping in smaller just now in Photoshop is because my image settings are set to 72 pixels per inch. So even if this is lower, it drops in as if the other thing is smaller, basically. Anyways, besides the actual assets, there's also a couple of things, like you can see an example file and how to use it, and as well as some Photoshop actions, some gradients, and some layer styles. But the next thing I'm going to do is go to the renders. So the metal renders, for example, contain all of these. I'm just going to show it a little bit larger. Some large 3D abstract objects, some sculptures, and you can see these a lot in these Metalheart artworks. Again, let me just show you. This is basically what these arts look like. You can know them from the early 2000s if you were around on the internet. For example, where I recognize these from is from like early internet forums. And it's always like these code layers and these abstract metallic textures and everything, all that good stuff we're going to dive into later. But if you don't know what Metalheart is, that's basically the main idea of it. And so numbers 1 to 25 are like these sharp, jagged shapes, and then the other 25 here, there are actually 100 renders, but yeah, the 26 to 50 are these swirly, like smoother looking shapes, as you can see. And we also got these in a glossy output, so these are a little bit less metal-y, if that makes sense. Anyways, I saw one that I liked. I'm not sure which one it is. What I usually look for in these renders is something like this, where it's like it goes out of over the edge of the image, but not in all 4 sides. So which one was this? I think 35. Just drop this in, and yeah, as you can see, this now looks like we're finished, right? No. Basically, this looks like a blurry background on this render. What I now want to do is grab a code layer, and these are just 5 PNGs of random code. So this is from, I think, from my website. Yeah, this is from my website. This is an SVG file, and I have no idea what this actually is, the code. This code is actually pretty funny. Is it this one? Oh wait, this is also the one from my website, and this one is actually from my graduation project. So you'll actually see some Dutch lines in here as well. But yeah, these are just nonsense code, of course. This doesn't have anything to do with whatever it is that you're creating. But that doesn't really matter. This guy feel of bad? What do you mean? Anyways, I want to rotate this, I think, 90 degrees so that it doesn't really clash with the code layer all too much. I think like this. And to add a little bit more depth and layers in, the feeling of depth at least, is one way you can do that is by putting your code layer to the back, so that there's the renders in front of the code layer. And I think I'm gonna switch this around just so that the darker parts are in front of like the code, so you can actually read them. And another cool thing is, I think it's because the Metalheart aesthetic comes from a time where Photoshop was still like in its early glory, I guess. I think I was using Photoshop CS 3 or 4, maybe 4 around the end of it, but when I was just seeing the style CS 2 or 3. Anyways, a big thing was like using transparency and opacity, I guess. Like that's something that I rarely use anymore. I mainly use blend modes and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes just putting stuff to 50% and stuff like that with the opacity. It's something that actually, you can see that a lot with these Metalheart arts. Bring back the dyed hair, blonde hair tone. Yeah. If I do that again, I might go bald, and I think you rather see me with a mullet rather than like a bald guy. But it's good to know that my biggest fan is in the chat. So these glares are basically to add in like some contrast to the darker parts of your composition. As you can see here, you can, for example, put them over here like this. Go bold. A couple of years back you posted a mixed media video. I was already into printing and collage, but after 2 years I fully make a living. Whoa, that's so sick. Was it the video about like the Oliver Tree artwork? I think it was like why mixed media is awesome or something like that. Well, that's actually so sick. If you're in the Discord, send me your work, because I'm actually very interested right now to check that out. What's up, Chels? So glare 7 is it basically removes all of the contrast here, but I'm thinking maybe we'll do like a divide or other like blend mode where you can maybe subtract blend mode and then see if we can rotate it. It's always basically just is here so for some interesting like dark and light contrast, if that makes sense. So I usually just play around with like these four. These four blend modes, and then sometimes I inverse these glares. Sometimes they're not even needed, but I was kind of interested in seeing how they work. It's kind of invisible. Should do mock. Maybe the live streams are nice to do some mixed media stuff. If I can get my camera overhead camera rig to stop like falling over every time I draw something. Oh, I actually like this. And then what we can do is play a little bit with the opacity. So yeah, we have like a nice abstract background now with a lot of differences between light and dark. And maybe at this point you're wondering like why is all of the assets are black and white. And I actually have a good reason for that, because I usually color these designs in with a gradient map. Let me just show you what that would look like. So if you don't know what a gradient map does, the gradient map is an adjustment layer that you can find there, and everything, it will affect everything in the layer menu that's below here. I'm going to just remove the layer mask because we don't need that. But with the gradient map, we're going to go to properties. Basically all of the darker values of this, everything below the gradient map, will be mapped to the color on the left, and the lighter colors will be mapped to white. So if I change this to red, for example, you can see that all of the white or lighter colors, they are basically just mapped to that color. And the cool thing is the Dreadlabs pack that have been yapping about for this entire stream so far actually contains very specific. You need to look at this like layer row here. A very specific set of gradients. For example, these ones. And I think this one is probably one of the prettiest ones. This one as well. And as you can see, this kind of looks like Metalheart, but it's really, really harsh, the effect. And that's why I always change the blend modes of these to a soft light. So as you can see, it's way more subtle compared to this. But yeah, this way you can color in your designs. They always have these really muted blue and green hues, I guess. I have some extras in there that are a little bit more experimental, but wait, this is the wrong folder. This is the one. As you can see, these are the main color sets, and of course, like gradient maps, they are just an extra. You can of course come up with your own ones, but I found that these all work pretty well with the Metalheart aesthetic. I actually put this one in because it just fits the branding of Dreadlabs a little bit better. But yeah, I do like this one, and I do like this one, and I guess this one as well. Let's just stick with this one for now. Or you can just send it in the general chat if you want to. You can actually check it out in the stream if you like that as well. But if you don't feel forced to do so, because I can also imagine that maybe you don't want to share it with everyone there, at least not publicly on the live stream. Anyways, another aspect of these, I forgot to mention, by the way, like all of these shape styled images, like the grids and the separate elements, they all come in a PNG and in vector format, so you can just scale them up how large you want. But these grids are all styled like this, basically all variants of like specific grid patterns. Oh, you just center IG, yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna drop in grid 10 for now, and then we're gonna check out your Instagram page. So I scaled it down a little bit, so there's a little bit more grid around here, but I'm not sure if I want that actually. Oh. I can also just scale it up to fully cover the image. And this is one of those things where you just want to lower the opacity to 10% or something, maybe a little bit higher, 25. And just put it all the way at the bottom. And the cool part about this glare now is that it's like the glare helps fade out the grid in specific places. Like if I remove the glare, you can see it's a little bit hard to see, I guess, but it definitely has effect on the opacity and the randomness of where the grid shows. Do you plan on doing any tutorials on touch design or motion graphics? It's nice that you asked, actually, because I think it was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks now. No, I think it's a week ago, where I came together and I found I met a guy from my hometown, and he is actually a student, and he's learning touch designer, I think, but he's already pretty good at it. But he gave me like an introduction to it, and I've had so many people request me using touch designer over the years that I am planning on learning it. Same as goes for Blender. The only thing is that it's pretty difficult to do that while you also work with clients and stuff like that. So definitely in the future, but I need to figure out how I'm gonna do that. And I've been thinking about that, and maybe I just wanted to dive into, I don't know, like take a week off so I don't have to do any Dreadlabs work or any client work, and then I can just focus all that complete week on only learning touch design or only learning Blender. Maybe both, I don't know. But yeah. Yeah, like I said, definitely in the future. So, got you. Whoa. That's sick. Yo, I'm actually speechless by this, man. This looks so good. What's the edge? Is it like? Can I pause it? Is it like a paper tier, or is it like something else? It's hard to see from here. It looks like paint or something here. That's so sick. Yo, I'm gonna follow you. This is amazing. So you work for Tony Chocoloni. Oh, if that's the name, right? I'm not sure if it's also the same name in outside of the Netherlands. All done with printer. Wow, this is amazing, dude. Yeah, I was thinking, what's that? Is that like, is this paper tiers or holes that you punch in the paper, or it looks like? It kind of looks like you put on too much paint, so like it's paint residue, I guess. But I think that's not it, right? But this looks sick, dude. Where are you from? I find it really hard to learn Blender because the features keep changing and the tutorials become difficult to follow. Yeah, that's why I initially started learning Cinema 4D. But when was this? Like in the last month, I had to renew my Cinema 4D subscription, and it just cost me like, I think 75% of my rent for that. Like I was like, yeah, well, I mean, software, of course, you need to pay for it, blah blah blah. But yeah, that like seeing that much money draining out from my bank is definitely what made me want to learn free software, for sure. Used a cutter to cut the paper and create transitions and various materials like watercolor stem made from grease. That's amazing. That's actually so cool. So I'm not sure if you saw, but I updated my YouTube intro. So in the last, I think 2 or 3 videos that I released were yeah, they were mixed media animations, I would say. Ooh, are you guys seeing this? Yeah. Might just have to quit some extra software that I'm running, because if you're in Photoshop and you see the scale thingy to become like this ugly one, then you know that your graphics card is kind of getting weird. Okay, I'm gonna save this real quick. and then I'm just gonna change it. I'm gonna restart Photoshop. Let's see. Let's go to live streams. 2025. Ooh. Anyways, like I was saying, I actually made my new intro on. It's also mixed media. Oh, thanks, man. It's it's nowhere near like close to the work from Noodles in the Trenches. That's actually where I want to go. That's actually so sick, dude. But yeah, that's definitely the direction that I want to go in. And let's just close this off real quick. Because I want to do more mixed media stuff, but it's for now it's a little bit difficult for me to find clients in that because they yeah, it's just really time intensive. Yo, this is awesome. So I'm wondering, Noodles, if you're still in the live stream, the material, like the video that you shoot, is it also do you also shoot it yourself, or do you work with a specific videographer, or do they just deliver it to you? This is amazing. Or you're part of a studio. Maybe this is your the other person that helps you is doing that, or also do tattoos. That's sick. Where in Greece are you from? Because I would love to visit you one day, if you have a physical studio, of course, and get a tattoo maybe. It's awesome. Let's see if Photoshop wants me to continue this live stream or not. It's always weird to see like those paused projects. I'm always curious, like if people see this, like this window for me in tutorials or stuff like that, they are always like, what is this guy doing? I'm always curious about it, like if people actually see this and think about it, or if no one actually pays attention to it. So I figured I want to do something up here because it's a little bit empty. But maybe we skip the grids for now because I want to showcase the rest. So what we covered backgrounds, we covered the glares, we covered the grids, and then the overlays and separate elements are. We covered the renders as well. The overlays are well, the overlays and separate elements are kind of similar in the way that there's just random stuff. But yeah, this overlay number 3 and 4 are actually really nice. They really add that like cyber feel, if that makes sense. The thing is, I always kind of struggle to make them like if you have like a specific grid like here, it's kind of hard to have them match up. So maybe we skip on that for now. But yeah, as you can see, this is just some random stuff that you can place in your composition. Maybe this one will work a little bit better. Which one was that? Number 14. Yeah, as you can see, this is one of those things where you can also just lower the opacity a little bit, and it adds something to the composition, but it's not like way too much out there, if that makes sense. Usually get commissioned by directors. Athens, Greece, studio and center. Ooh, Cheeseburger or Taco is going to visit Athens soon, so you might just needs to get a. I'm gonna force him to get a tattoo in your studio. But yeah, I will definitely let you know. That's sick. Or you get commissioned by the directors. That's actually such a cool system. I don't know enough video directors, I think, to do that. So I might need to get my networking game on there. Let's see what else we got in the overlay section. this is a whole specific overlay with the grid and everything. This one also works really well, but I think it's a little bit too busy for what we have here. But as you can see, like if you just do this to, I don't know, 30% or something, it's really nice. But it's well, maybe what we can do is we're gonna add a random mask to this. It was this one, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna add a layer mask, and I'm gonna hold Alt Option on my keyboard and click into the layer mask. So everything, this white layer is basically just the layer mask of Photoshop. So if you draw here, you can see that's the layer mask, and it's a little bit hard to see now, so I'm just gonna show you. Like everything I draw black here, it becomes invisible here. Anyways, what I wanted to do is go to Filter, Render, Clouds. And you kind of saw the thing shift already. Let's see what happens if I disable the mask. As you can see, it's just gonna remove, let's see, the render, maybe the code layer, and this one, and the grid. So yeah, now you can kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna increase the contrast, so the black part, the gray areas become black, and the white areas, or the lighter gray areas, become white. And now you can see the contrast a little bit better. So everywhere where it's black, it's basically just not showing. And I'm gonna blur this a little bit with a Gaussian blur. Oh, I didn't mention the name of the studio, but it's IP23, I think. Maybe I pronounce it in an English way or something, but look here, we're basically just getting each other work here. Big networking stream here. Anyways, yeah, I've basically now the thing is a little bit more random-ish, I guess, where it's like hiding. So let me just unhide the rest of the layers, and now we can just, I don't know, maybe rotate the mask a little bit, see if that helps. This is fine, I guess. Maybe I might just want to get rid of the grid here, or maybe just like make a gradient mask. So, oh wait, this is a radial gradient. I need a linear gradient, and I actually only wanted it to be visible here in the bottom left corner. Yeah, this works. It's fine. Now what we're gonna do is check out the separate elements, I guess. So these are basically just yeah, also things that you can just drag and drop in, some vector shapes. My go-to is always either this one or this one, but I think I need another one. It's gonna drop in, otherwise they're all gonna look the same. I mean, they all kind of already look the same, but and maybe we'll just put a color overlay on this and see what happens if we just change the blend mode. So we need to group this first and then change the blend mode of the group. Actually, I like the screen on this, the screen overlay, and then maybe lower it to 80%. What's up, Olive Fontaine? How you doing? So what's next? What's next? if there are new people watching, I'm creating a artwork, a Metalheart art from scratch in Photoshop, but I'm using my own texture, my own asset pack, Dreadlabs Metalheart Essentials. But if people have any questions on how I made certain assets, I will just do it by hand rather than just using the asset pack. I just want to showcase what is possible with the asset pack, but I also want to give you the knowledge to do something yourself, so you don't have to necessarily buy the asset pack in order to create stuff like this. But then we also have some grain textures. We've covered all of these pretty much. So I always kind of forget about these, but there's also some glow actions and layer styles in here. And I'm not sure if I never have my layer styles window open. All right, we got some here. So I'm gonna just drop in. Yeah, what I'm gonna drop in. I'm just gonna make a random ellipse and see what it do. Metal. Oh wait, so this doesn't have a fill. So this is a transparent metal thingy. Oh, this is actually also nice to create glares, I guess. Well, yeah, we have some like metallic glass layers, if that makes sense. I don't think we need it right now. Oh wait, it's also part of the blend mode, so it's a little bit difficult to see. I don't think we need this in this art, I guess. Well, maybe this one, this darkens it, maybe like right behind and then to make it a little bit smaller. And let's, I also had a text action, a glow one. Ah, yeah. So this makes a duplicate of your whole composition and then just like creates a glow effect on it. It's cool. Saying this as if I didn't invent this myself, but it's been 2 years since I created this, and I actually don't really use the Photoshop actions all that much from this pack, so kind of forgot about it. But let's see. What else do we get here? We have separate elements. Let's check that out some more. I think this one will fit quite nicely with the one that we already dropped in. So we'll just do something like this. Maybe we can just like create the same size ellipse as this one. Okay, and now make sure that this lines up a little bit, like lines up good enough, I guess. It was 80%, I think, right? Oh, anyway, I had a color overlay. Okay, so composition-wise, this is weird because I think mathematically it lines up perfectly. Not even, but I feel like it has to go towards the left. It's a little bit difficult to see, I guess. Maybe I'll just move it down a little bit more, just like align it with them in the middle. So we need some text, and one of the like fonts for me personally that works really well, and this one is in Adobe fonts, and the font is called Briller, and it's just like really wide. Let's just ungroup that for a second so you can see it. This just works really well for me because it's just so extended. And maybe just the regular weight. Thanks, Lolo GC. Thank you. How are you doing? So I might need some subtle shadows behind this. Another font that I think would probably work pretty well with this is by Hunter. It's called Medium or something. Oh yeah, you get every single medium font. I think I just saw, yeah, medium regular. So he missed a big opportunity here to call this font medium. He just called it medium regular. Come on, Hunter, man. Come on. Okay, so maybe just one for like a subtitle. What's up, Ezekiel? How are you doing? Let's see. What should we put on here text-wise? Maybe Depthcore as well. How can we keep the balance of image and text? That's a good question. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, that's definitely the style. I think this came like a little bit after like Wipeout and stuff like that. So I don't like these fonts pairing up actually. Now looking at it. Lolo GC, how can we keep the image balance? You mean like the composition wise or color? Like if you wanted the text to be visible enough and stuff like that. Oh. So what I would probably do here is maybe both. Okay, so in Metalheart there's a couple of options that you can try. For example, you can just simply do something like this where, let's open up the, which one is the later style? This one, I think. For example, if we make this like it's a darkened like window, I guess that makes sense. It makes it a little bit darker, and we can just go into the gradient overlay and just make the opacity a little bit bigger, I guess. Another thing that I like to do is make really subtle drop shadows. So I'm just gonna turn this all the way to 100% and up the size of this drop shadow. So in this style, it doesn't really matter because here in the 2000s, they kind of like were really unbothered when it came to like using drop shadows and so. What's up, Glenn? How you doing, man? No worries. So thank you for stopping by. But yeah, like what I was saying is like in this style, it's kind of okay to use these really harsh drop shadows. But given that we as designers nowadays really don't do that anymore, is we can try to make it more subtle, which is what we're gonna do here. And I'm gonna give you a little trick that really worked for me as of lately. So the first thing is just make it really harsh at first. So we're gonna zoom in a little bit, but not too far, because if I tend to like make it way more subtle if I'm looking at it like this, and of course in the end people are going to see it in its full glory. So I would say get your whole artwork together and focus on the drop shadow looking from here. So now you want to make it really harsh. The spreads are around 10%, and it's a pretty large sized drop shadow, as you can see. So now I'm just gonna lower the size, as you can see here. And the funny thing is, because you've been looking at a really harsh drop shadow for a while at this point, now everything's just gonna look a little bit more subtle, and it looks a little bit better than compared to when you're just looking at it from without a drop shadow, if that makes sense. But anyways, now I'm gonna lower the spread slightly until I feel like I don't really see it anymore. And now we can just lower the opacity up until the point where we think that we don't really see it anymore. I think around here, like I can kind of see the outline at some points, especially here with the H. But around here, I don't really see it that much anymore. So another thing you can do is, based on the background color of your composition or any other color in your art, I tend to grab like a color like this. And now, of course, it's really light, but then we change the blend mode to multiply a little bit more. And now we can play with the opacity some more. It's always a little bit less harsh than the complete black. So that's how I try to counter my drop shadows. But now, as you can see, it's, well, maybe like if you turn it off and on, you see some difference, but maybe not enough. So what I tend to do is click on this plus button here, and this will add another drop shadow. And what I tend to do with this one is just make it really, really big. Something like this. And then just lower the opacity like to a lot. So basically this is a really subtle but big shadow. And you can do this in different ways, by the way. You don't have to I think it's this way, yeah. You don't need to do it in this way. You can also just grab a adjustment layer, and then in the use a layer mask where, I don't know, we'll just paint it right behind the text here. And then we can just lower it like this. And then lower the opacity. That's also a possibility, of course. This gives you a little bit more control, I guess. But yeah, this is also a quick and easy way to add a little bit more shadow. As you can see, doesn't do that much, but it kind of helps. And of course, you can also try. I've never really know how these exactly work, but you can also try and see if one of these only affects like the lighter parts of your background here. But in my case, I'm just gonna stick to multiply. So yeah, this is like the drop shadow with the background. So before that, you couldn't really read the text at all, and now we just made this. The Disney vibe of techno music album, definitely like from the early days, right? Yeah, like I said, this reminds me of early internet forum. I used to be on like visual art forums and Pokemon art forums a lot, and like everyone's like avatar and signature on the forum was like in this style, so it really takes me back. And like you said, techno albums or trance CDs. Trance CDs are, I'm actually working on a new asset pack which is literally called Trance Essentials, but it will be like this, but then for a little bit more brighter and happier colors for trance CDs, if that makes sense. Just looking around to see if I have a reference around my office somewhere, but anyway, so something you can do, as I feel like this composition is, this part of the composition is a little bit empty. So we're gonna see if we can add something to it that doesn't really mess up the composition that much. Maybe something like this. And we'll just put it right behind the render. But then we can also just add in some text here. So what I would do is maybe let's see what we can write in here. I'll just write Dreadlabs sucks for now. But yeah, this would definitely be the place where one of those how would you say, where one of those texts or like track list or included with the hit song blah 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 if you buy it on CD, right? That's kind of the vibe this circle little thing is going for. Maybe we'll make this a little bit more bold because it's just a smaller text. And maybe the same drop shit. No, it's way too big. Yeah, something like this works, I guess. So now we can just go and glow. Yeah, add some glow to this. So I just demonstrated the quick glow. I actually want to have a more controlled glow. And now in the blur gallery, I can just double click and just move wherever I want to have these like ethereal, blurry, shiny, whatever you want to call it. And actually don't want it to happen that much with the text at the top here. So I'm just gonna add some pins with a lower blur around the top, which basically means that the glow, yeah, you can see it really well with the M here. Like if I make this bigger, then there's more glow there. So something like this. Then we just click OK here at the top. Thank you so much, Olive. So the screen blend is maybe a little bit too drastic. It's really, really light now, and now I'm getting this trance record vibe, and Trendwhore is maybe a little bit yeah, it's supposed to be a little bit darker, I guess. So what I kind of tend to do is just lower the opacity to 10% and then just go up and see from where it starts to get a little bit too much. Maybe around here, maybe like a 30%. Yeah, that works for me. Sorry about that, like sound. My house is pretty old, and then at some random points the wood starts crackling. I think it's because the sun's on my house now. Anyways, so we didn't explore one part of this asset pack yet, and that is the grain textures. So the way I tend to texture my work is, oh, sorry about that. The way I tend to texture my work is with two of the same texture, or maybe sometimes two different textures. But I want to affect two parts of the image, and one of those is the darker parts of the image, and one of those is the lighter parts of the image. And I'm going to show you real quick what that means. I'm going to drop in the noise and the noise textures, and I basically make each texture in two versions. And it already says like this darker one is supposed to be on the screen blend mode. And if I zoom in now, that means that the lighter parts of this image, you can see this white grain coming through. Okay, you can see it really well on the darker parts of the image. Sorry, as you can see, because of the screen blend mode, like if I just bring it to normal, you can see some really subtle noise on this texture. If you want to make it more drastic, you can also add it to linear dodge, which adds it a little bit more. But yeah, as you can see at this part, the darker parts of the image show the grain and the lighter parts don't, and that's because there's only the image is black and the grain is white. So it only makes sense that you don't see the white grain on white. That's why I also make an inverted version, which is basically a white image with black grain. I turn that to multiply, and as you can see, that's only visible on the lighter parts. So two of them together, as you can see here, make sure that all parts of the image is like grainy. And looking at this, so what I would do in this case is I think the grain is a little bit too harsh, especially on the darker side. I feel like it makes the whole image a little bit darker, especially around the shine here and stuff like that. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lower the opacity to 10% and then just go up until I see that it starts to bother me. And around here, 40% is I think around where I'm like, okay, this is enough. And for this, usually this happens more with me when I use multiply than screen. For some reason, screen doesn't really bother me that much. But yeah, there we have it. Our Metalheart artwork, all done with Dreadlabs Metalheart Essentials. I'm just gonna showcase the how to use part. This is a PDF file. So this is basically what you get when you buy the pack as well. A usage guide, table of contents, the way that you install everything, the way, and the reason that I made this in this style, by the way, is because this is the way that I used to follow YouTube tutorials back in the day. When I was like 12 years old and I was getting like Photoshop tutorials, there weren't really a lot of people doing Photoshop tutorials on YouTube. There were mostly people who were making images and then like showing you in the image step by step the settings that you were supposed to click. So that's really that's something that's really nostalgic to me. So I wanted to do something that kind of looks like that for for this guide basically. So yeah, if you follow this guide, you can basically see you get some tips on which elements and layer styles work really well with others, some font recommendations even. Kind of forgot about this. And I think most of these are either free or they're on Adobe CC. So adding some grain and some other links. But yeah, this is basically the way that it works. And then there's also an example file in here, and that's this one. I think it's also the one that I made in the guide, but I'm not sure. But yeah, this is what we made today. So yeah, fairly happy with the result, if I do say so myself. But what I want to take some time for now is, if people are in the chat right now and you're like, okay, I don't want to buy this asset pack, either because I hate you and I don't want to support you, or it's because you just don't have the money for it, or you don't want to spend the money on it, that's of course completely fine, and I would understand. And that's why I want to take some time out of the stream. Like if people are thinking, okay, I want to make these 3D renders, but I don't know how, or I don't know, I want to make something, a certain shape in Illustrator that you showcased in the video. I would like to know how, then I can just show it to you right now in the live stream. So if you have any requests, any specific parts that you want to learn how to do it yourself, or if you have any other specific questions, I'm literally here to answer all of them, like live in the live stream right now. So yeah, if that's, if you have a question, let me know in the comments. What's up, unknown user, how you doing? I was just saying, if you have any specific questions about doing Metalheart artwork or graphic design in general, let me know in the chat and I can answer. Do you know some tips to keep good composition balance with images? So what I try to do is, it depends on the function of the image. For example, this is an artwork. This is something that would either be printed on a CD, or the function of this image is not like a poster. For example, if you have a poster, I'm just gonna grab a reference material real quick. So this is a poster design that I did recently, and this is a local party in a couple of cities over here in the Netherlands. And what I usually do when I'm balancing images. Okay, this is an animated video, so maybe just, oh yeah, here it comes. So here the function of this poster is basically, because this is a local party and the main way that people know about this party is because of their name, and this is the name of the party, and it's also their 10th edition, which, you know, so the main focus and the main balance goes towards the largest part and the center of this image. And then, like, of course you want to know, oh wait, they're giving their 10th edition, when is it or where is it? And then it's like other less relevant but still relevant parts of the poster, of course. So composition wise, I would always try to create the visual hierarchy up front. So if you know, this of course can be different for each poster or each design. For example, if they were to book a really famous DJ or something like that, they would probably want to have that be on top of the visual hierarchy. So the first thing they see would be the big headliner that everyone wants to buy their ticket because of. Yeah, I try to create a visual hierarchy based on the most important things and then the less important things, and that's when I start designing the poster based around those rules. And then if it's just for decoration, what I think it's also, composition can be like a taste thing, and my personal taste is I like to balance out the composition. For example, the render over here is like kind of sloping off to the bottom left here. It's like this part's mostly covered by the render, which is why I chose to put it here, because the code layer goes from here in the top right all the way to the bottom, so it's kind of like a diagonal shape here, and this leaves an empty space over here. So I was like, okay, I'm just rotating the 3D render so it slopes off here, and then you'll get some empty parts of here, the design here, which is what I filled in with these specific separate elements. So I hope that actually helps you out. So unknown user, how do you make those shapes? Do you draw them and then apply the chroma effect or something like that? So these shapes are actually 3D objects, and they're actually really fun to make too. It's really easy if you know your way around 3D software. I think I've never used Blender, but you can make them in Blender, and I think you can make them in pretty much any 3D software. So I'm going to show you how easy it is actually. It might be just a little bit. It might be a little bit of a different workflow compared to Blender, but okay. Let's go over this real quick. So I think what I would usually do is make sure that I have a 3D object. I make some subdivisions. Then I add a displacer modifier. So what this does is I basically grab a texture, in this case a noise texture, and based on the light and dark values of this noise texture, you can see this thing will displace. Maybe the cube isn't the best way to do this, but I think we can do something. But the more you create this, now you can already create these really weird jagged shapes, as you can see. It's a little bit cubey still, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this with a sphere, I think. Yeah, this looks a little bit better, I guess. I'm not sure if better is the right word, but and then you can also play with the noise texture. So for example, the noise texture goes up right now, and that basically just changes the shape a little bit, as you can see. And what I would also then do is grab a twist deformer, for example, and if we do that, then we can just rotate the whole thing like this. Basically like bend and stretch the polygons all the way. And then, so if you want sharp shapes, you're already pretty much there, but you can also add in a subdivision, and this will create this round flowy thing. And then you can just add a camera and zoom in a little bit on it, and then you can basically make it a really wide angle. So if you go like this, you get this really weird 3D effect, like as you can see. So that's basically the basics on how I create these 3D objects. What's up, Mike? How you doing, man? I think it led to you would maybe get like Blender for free, and because this is basically like the rendering itself isn't the worst part, because it's not like a really heavy subdivided object, and it's still like, this is mostly like a little bit processor heavy, but I tend to feel like doing these specific things in 3D is actually easier on a computer than using Photoshop. But that's my personal experience. Psychopathic, any advice for building a personal brand for getting clients and work? Yes, actually I do. And that's actually something that I recently found out. So as you might have seen on my YouTube or on my Instagram, is I started recently doing real videos and real content. And something that I kind of found out is like, I'm in real life, the first thing I would advise you is see if you can write down some personal aspects of who you are. And in my experiences, I am quite an introvert person. Like if you would see me on the street, or if you would see me at a party or something, you would definitely see like, that's kind of an awkward dude. And that's okay, I'm just like that, and some people aren't like that, but I'm kind of an awkward guy, and I tend to come across as fairly serious. And that's actually funny, because like if you know me, like for example, me and my best friend Bram, I think he's also still in the live chat, we like, something that we really do have in common is our sense of humor, and actually do like humor, if that makes sense. But in the past, when I was doing Dreadlabs content and live streams and stuff like that, when I took a little bit of time off, and I realized that the way I'm coming across on my live streams was a little bit different than the way I was coming across in my videos or in the captions that I was writing. And one big thing for me was like, I find like I'm not using the humor that I like, actually, and I'm actually typing really seriously, and it was a little bit different from what I thought I would be known as, if that makes sense. So what I did was I started doing real videos, and I was like, okay, what can I do to show off my work? And and what do I have to show for people? Like what can I show potential clients they would get into if they want to work with me, and not specifically like, oh, I would make this logo, I would deliver that, but what would the communication be like? Would I be easily approachable, or is maybe is humor a part of the way that you communicate with clients, stuff like that. And it also, of course, depends on what kind of clients you're trying to attract. Like, I'm definitely not really interested in working with like a lot of boring companies. So therefore, I figured I can be a little bit less serious, because I don't think people expect me to be that serious if I am not looking for those types of clients, if that makes sense. So yeah, I can get into it a little bit more if you're curious, but that's basically the yeah, I would say, like, see what it is that you have in common in terms of personality with the people that you're trying to attract, and see if you can create your content and get that feeling across a little bit more. For me, it was like I really like some of the work that I put out that doesn't really get chosen, and I also think it's a shame that not a lot of people actually see the work that sketching does on my hard drive. So that's why I started those used versus unused reels, where people can either see if they like the final product that I put out, or in the case of the last video that I released, the artist decided to go in a different art direction, and some other amazing designer made the actual artwork, and I was just showing like, oh, this is what I made and this is what they ended up with. And it wasn't necessarily to show like, oh, I'm salty because I didn't really get my work chosen, because it's a completely different art direction, and it only makes sense to hire someone else to do something like that. But I was like, oh, we can also just I want to show you what I made, and then you can just judge for yourself whichever you like the most. And if you don't find it funny, that's of course completely fine, but I just made that video where I'm just like playing with my Pokemon cards on the ground and shooting the artwork with a banana at the camera, and that's just the kind of dumb stuff that I kind of like. I'm like smirking while I'm editing it. Like I know it's really goofy, but I enjoy that, and I think it's also only fair to expect that people would like to work with me also, like, will maybe not find it funny, but enjoy it at least, if that makes sense. But yeah. So, unknown user, yeah, basically you sum it up. What he's trying to say is just be real in your content. That makes sense. And it's also good if you want some reference material, because if you go back to my older reels or in my older content, you can actually see that I'm also not really into it, if that makes sense. I'm trying to be someone that I'm not, if that makes sense. But yeah. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it was really fun to do as well, and definitely shows you if you have like cool and original ideas for types of content instead of your only like your visual work. That's also really helpful. Yeah. Thanks, man. Planning to get back into social media again, posting my time on IG. Yeah, I think it's for me the key was to find the joy in creating real content, because I as many of you know, really hated doing it at first, and I didn't want to join in on it, and now I found a specific way where I can make it, and I actually enjoy the whole process of creating for it. So I think that's also where you need to find your sweet spot. If you enjoy creating it all as well, then the people will find you. What do you think is better, Blender or Cinema 4D? Depends on really depends on it. Like, I think Blender is really nice because it's literally like free. I feel, in my personal experience, Cinema 4D is a little bit easier to learn, but it costs a lot more money. But the general idea is that you can basically accomplish the same thing with the same software for most of it, I think. Especially within our niche, I think it doesn't really matter whether you use Blender or any other 3D software. For me, Cinema 4D just works, and it was the easiest for me to learn, so that's why I stuck with it. Well, yeah, like I said earlier in the stream, I'm thinking about moving to Blender if I find the time to learn it myself, because, yeah, saving those $800 a year is pretty nice. So Olive's finally buying some essence packs from you. Oh, thank you so much for the support, Olive. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you for the support. And I want to start an Instagram account of design so I could show my good jobs, I guess. Thanks. Good luck. It's rough, yeah. Yeah, when I was starting out, like I didn't have to create videos, for example. And what I've also noticed on social media now is, and of course a lot of gurus and people who actually know more about it or say that they know more about it talk about this a lot, but the idea of followers is almost like, well, not dead, but the algorithms of Instagram and TikTok and stuff are just a lot more focused on the content rather than the person. And of course, if people like your content and they see a consistency in something, like if people enjoy a specific video that I like, they can actually click on my profile and see that I have more videos of that. But 99% of the people will just scroll past because they're just, you know, doom scrolling. But yeah, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start, by the way. It's just gonna be like harder, but it's also like I said, it's also a lot more fun to try and start finding your personal brand and seeing if you enjoy content creation, and if you need to find a specific spot that you like, and once you get on that, then I guarantee you that people will come to you. That being said, however, like I think personally, like I've gotten most of my clients. I've been full-time freelancing for 5 years now, and also like on the side while I was like in college for like 8 years or something, 9. And most of the clients that I've worked with, I would say around 80 to 90% of it is all through word of mouth. So clients finding out about my work through other clients. So although I would heavily recommend doing something to get shown around more, yeah, if you do good work, if you do good work and you deliver good work, that's already a really big part of it. I'm free to rate my designs and give me advice. Yeah, sure. If you join us on Discord, you can drop in your design if you want to, and I can check it out. The link to the Discord is in the description if you're not in there yet. I was about to talk about something else, but I'm not sure what. No clue. But yeah, 5 years, man. I'm blessed. If I look back at it, like people who I worked with, who I started out with and stuff like that, is I feel like a lot of people weren't so fortunate and kind of like had to do something else, you know, to pay the bills and keep the lights on. So I'm blessed that I can actually do something like that. Yeah, let me check the Discord. Maybe you already sent your design. Oh, you did, I think. Let me just change. Oh wait, you can also already see. Oh wait, but you said. Oh wait. I thought you were the person who was not working with 3D yet. But yeah, this looks sick. Is that a custom typography or not? Yeah, the white scale looks nice. I also like the processing on this, like I think it's actually 3D, but it might just be Photoshop. But I like, there's like a sick reflection in here. Wait, whoa, this is just a sky morphing, I think. But for a second, I thought this was like a face or something like that. I add another eye effect. Okay, sick. What's eye candy? Is that something I'm too old to know what it is, but or? But yeah, it ain't easy. Oh, it's a Photoshop plugin. What does it do? I know the odds of getting those super creative gigs are low. Keep at the grind. Yeah, that's something that I'm kind of like, as I'm growing older, I'm now. Today I'm actually 10 months away from turning 30. Ouch. And I'm thinking like, I'm not scared, I guess, but I really feel like I need to grow more, or to do something if I want to sustain myself with this work for the rest of my life, if that makes sense, right? Like big 30 feels but yeah, you know, like it's I'm confident that I can still help people with my design work for the years to come, but it also, it's scary, I guess, you know, if that makes sense. Like I always feel like I'm scared because I feel the need, like I need to have a studio now, you know, and only work with like giant companies or something, you know. But I think, thanks dude, thanks. I think, yeah, I think if I look back now, you know, shit, I think it's on my laptop, but it's something funny because I feel like I've been in this exact spot for 5 or 6 years now, something like that. And the funny thing is, I found a price chart from my work in, I think it was in 2019 or something. And the prices, my pricing, it was like all over the place. But the funny part was like, I think if someone gave me, if someone like grabbed all of those services and had me make a website, 3 cover albums, an animation, and a whole social media branding plus social media rollout and everything like that, I think I couldn't even pay my groceries right now. Like, just that's how low my prices were. And at the time I was still in college, so it was just more of a side hustle basically. So I just, you know, I still was living with my parents, so most of the money that I made was just good, like, for going out and stuff. But it's still funny to see, because like if you're not really thinking about it, it feels like you've been charging the same for a while now, blah 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 blah. But of course, yeah, like you said, like I think if you look at back, take a step back and look at the bigger picture, I think you're growing, right? Man, that feels like a good way to end it, right? Yeah. If anyone still has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments right now and I can still answer them. Otherwise, we're going to round it off, but don't worry, because we will be back here next week at the same time on Thursday, 4 p.m. CET, which I hopefully, if I'm not mistaken, stands for Central European Time. And I think what we're going to do next week is we're going to do a design feedback live stream again. So if you want to create something cool, or check out your hard drive and drop in some dope designs in Discord, and we can give some feedback on it. If you want to, of course. If you just want to share it with the rest of the community, that's also fine. But we're going to take a look at some people's cool designs next week. And the week after that is, I think we're finally going to catch up with Jack from Studio AAA. And next is, I feel like maybe we'll browse through some books that you can see over here in the background. There was also someone who wanted to see my Pokemon card collection. We can also dive into something like that. The streams don't necessarily have to be like super dead serious based on graphic design, because if I could look back at now at the live streams that we did in 2021, I did one weekly. And the things that I remember from that is that a lot of people sent me some really cool music afterwards, that I found out about some really cool artists, stuff like that. So yeah, we're here to share with each other. And if you have something to share, if you have any cool ideas for the live stream, let me know, because I am definitely down to try it. So with all that being said, this is Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully see you guys next week. Bye bye.